Appreciate you all coming out tonight. Just so I understand the audience a little bit, can everybody stand up real quick? Every single person stand up. If you have not done a real estate transaction, go ahead and sit down. If you have done 5 deals or less, go ahead and sit down. If you've transacted on 30 deals or less, go ahead and sit down. Got some players in here. Anyone done 100 deals? Stay standing, everyone else sit down. 100 deals? Wow. Couple hundred deals? Still going? All right, that's awesome. So a lot of action in the room. Credit to all of you. Thank you. Just helps me understand a little bit about the audience that we're going to. You know, sometimes as a real estate investor, you can feel like this guy right here, and that's certainly how I felt a lot of my years. And we'll tell a little bit about my journey tonight. But I can assure you that these meetups and these mastermind communities that you get to be a part of, it's always great to bounce ideas off each other. This is the strength in the community. This is how you learn and stop from making mistakes. So hopefully, if all else fails, tonight you'll be able to learn from some of my mistakes, because I wrote a book called Mistake-Free Real Estate, very much tongue-in-cheek. There's no such thing, right? We do a lot of turnkey transactions, meaning we help other people invest in real estate without having to deal with the hassle. So we eliminate all the mistakes for other people, knowing that we've made all the mistakes that you can. So hopefully you'll learn about some of mine tonight. The journey this evening is going to be a little bit kind of going through where I have been. I'll share a little bit about the market and where we are. A little bit about 2017 and how that was the low point in my life from a business stance. 2018, how finding an operating officer really helped propel my business to where it is today. Then 2022, we're going to talk about how you can pivot. 2022 was a massive punch in the face. Does everyone know what happened in 2022?
Rate hikes.
Interest rate hikes, right? Massive punch in the face when you're trying to sell assets. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then understanding a little bit about, for you that are less mature investors, I want you to understand from a mature investor's perspective a little bit about what I believe you should be doing to help you along the way. So again, your journey is not a straight line. You know, it is definitely peaks and valleys depending on how long you have been in business and revenue you're making. Bottom line is there's always ebbs and flows. No one has that straight line from the bottom left to the top right. You're absolutely going to get kicked in the teeth along the way. Click on again, mate. And then a little bit about us, just to showcase a little bit about what our company has done. 20 years in business, 300 clients served. We've done syndications as well. We have $250 million in investor capital deployed. We've done 80 million in syndication deals. So we understand real estate, pretty heavily. Your network, guys, is your net worth. As I said earlier, literally this room will be is where deals are formed, where partnerships are made, where vendor relationships are consummated. So I am a firm believer that your network is your net worth. And I spend a lot of time and money every year surrounding myself with really high-level individuals. Last week, I was at the CG Collective Genius CEO event, where I'm like the minnow in the room with these guys have done, guys that are doing 12,000 transactions a year. And I'm going in there learning from them about how they operate and what kind of systems and processes that you have to be able to flip 12,000 homes a year, not just 150. So that's my network there. Again, a lot of guys that I have paid to get to know, rubbing shoulders. Daniel Marcos in the middle there was my CEO coach for some time. Go ahead, mate. So why real estate? I think you'll slowly click through these, Robbies, but there are 4 pillars of real estate, right? Real estate is here for the cash flow, the appreciation, the depreciation or tax benefits, as well as the ability to scale with leverage. There's no other asset class like real estate, because any other asset that you start investing in, you're going to be shortchanged by one of these. The stock market certainly has appreciation. It does not have tax benefits, and you don't get, cash flow. I mean, people would say dividends, but that's very, very rare unless you get to massive amounts. And when you go and say, can I please have $100,000 worth of Apple stock? They say, no problem, you'll need $100,000. But when you have $100,000 to be able to go buy a 3-1 in Raytown, $100,000 house, to buy a $100,000 house, you may only need $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000, or as sure some of you in the room are doing, no money down deals. The ability to scale with other people's money and scale with leverage is one of the most powerful reasons that people get into real estate, and the reasons that absolutely love it. There are also 3 phases of wealth building. You need to be very clear about where you are. I see a lot of young faces in the room where you'd probably be at the front end of that in the accumulation phase. scaling your portfolio. So then you power down your debt. And then the last one is where you get passive income. The mistake that people make in real estate is thinking that you're going to buy 5 or 6 rentals and you're going to have this passive income stream that's going to make you, super, super. That just does not happen, okay? Just be mature enough to understand that, especially in this day and age with high interest rates, you're buying for tax benefits so that you pay as little in tax as possible, and then you're buying for appreciation. The cash flow comes much later down the road. We'll get to that in a minute. The number one question that I get asked when I'm talking with a new group, can anyone guess what that number one question would be? Every time I stand up on stage, someone will say, how do you get started? It's a good one. What's that? How quickly can you be a millionaire? The one I get asked most often, I think maybe just because people are fearful and risk, is, are we going to see another 2008? Is there any chance that I'm going to lose all my money? Will there be another 2008? And one of the things I want to reassure you is that it's not likely to happen. Click on to the next slide, mate. So real estate itself is a crockpot business, not a microwave business. We are definitely in the business of getting wealthy slowly over time, not getting rich quick. But the benefit of real estate is all these fast little emojis. Sorry, I wish I had the clicker. Keep on going. It's not. So this is a slide I like to call Don't Bet Against the Champ. We're going to hear in a minute from Barry Habib, who's a friend of mine that does a lot of speaking engagements. If you're not following Barry on socials, he's a super high influencer. Barry Habib, H-A-B-I-B. Super sharp guy, and will tell you what's coming down the pipeline with regard to interest rates before it happens, which is super valuable. We obviously saw the 2022 crisis happening. But what he always says is, guys, look, there are not enough people investing in real estate. If you look at this sheet, go dating back to all the way to 1942, sounds a lot like about 80 years. This is the annual year-over-year percentage change of appreciation in real estate. And it was only the global financial crisis of 2007, 8, and 9 that led them to lose 4 straight years. But if you just held on through that time period, you gain it back in about another 4 or 5 years. So literally 5 years where you would have lost money in real estate. If you buy and hold, it's the safest investment you can make. There's an old saying, as safe as houses. There's a reason they say that. It's because literally housing is about the safest investment you can get. So all of those of you that are fix and flipping, that are out there trying to get deals, just remember the easiest exit from real estate is to never exit. Just buy and hold forever, indefinitely. You'll come out well. So where are we in the marketplace? Click through. I want to talk about the 3 biggest influencing factors that I've seen in the past decade, and it'll kind of give an idea. I mean, you guys are all Kansas City people. I'm probably going to skip through about 20 slides because I don't need to tell you how great Kansas City is, but it's great. The 3 biggest influences have been, the first one, Main Street's infiltration into, Wall Street's infiltration into Main Street. The hedge funds that came and started buying aggressively, and all these names are familiar to all of you, but when they started coming in, they not only stabilized and put a floor on the market, but they also gave you an end buyer on the back end. So those, for every person who says that it was a bad thing when hedge funds came in, I would say it added a lot of professionalism, it added stability, and if there was a 5% drop in the real estate market right now, every single one of these investors would be buying aggressively. Let's see if we've got that clip here. Okay, so if you can just try and get to hold your finger over that, mate. So this, head pause. Okay, so as part of my role at the Collective Genius, I bring keynote speakers on. And so this is Bruce Norris on the top left. The bottom left down here is Kevin Baldridge. That's Sean O'Toole. And then from DLP Capital, super huge hedge fund. He manages about 1.5 billion in assets. So these guys were told us inside the room at CG, but Kevin Baldridge, who you're going to hear from, is the COO for Amherst. For Tricon. Tricon, this was actually about 2 months before they announced that BlackRock ended up buying them. But what I was trying to understand or get him to convey to our audience there was, are hedge funds in this for the long term or not? Are they going to be around for a 50-year time frame, or are they trying to time the market? Because when people ask me, is there going to be another 2008? I tell them quite frankly, there just cannot be, because now you've got Wall Street firmly entrenched. Can you hear me without this thing? Yeah, No? It's helping? Okay, I was going to speak loud. So I asked him the question of, what is the longevity of Wall Street on Main Street? How often are they going to be buying up houses? Did they go for a run and then they're going to stop? And you'll hear that they are at like 40,000 rental units, and he's like, it's a drop in the bucket. Like they wanted to get to 80,000, to 100,000, to 200,000 single family rental units. We have not seen an infiltration into our game, the one that we play, from Wall Street ever. Well, back since they did it with multifamily. They started coming and buying multifamily, but now they've systematized and automated property management in a meaningful way. Those of you that are in property management, you need to up your games, because these guys are really, really good at it. Like they are so good that they have technology that can actually detect if the thermostat drops by a certain number, AI automatically dispatches an HVAC technician to go to the house and start working on that to make sure the filter is good or whatever's wrong with the HVAC unit. I mean, their technology's truly amazing. They have 24/7 ability to access the house. So if you're locked out with your keys, hey, no problem. You call up, they hit the button, the garage door opens and allows the resident to get into their house. Like they're trying to make it as easy as possible to rent from them. So let's hear a little bit about what he has to say here.
Can you talk a little bit about, when you and I were talking, you mentioned that the business model is proven, institutional investors are not going anywhere. They will continue. Talk a little bit about Tricon's desire to continue to acquire homes and how that could potentially pop up.
We built a platform, really technology, that allows us to then operate these homes pretty efficiently. And as I say, this is our first call started. It was kind of an inefficient business model. There's a lot of ways off the back end where all the time and get a lot closer to it. It's pretty efficient. Like our peers have also, peers as well as I know investors. I don't see the price going down.
So I hope you guys were able to hear all of that, but basically he's saying that institutional investors are now going to act as a governor to the market. If there's even a 5% reduction in the marketplace, they're going to come in and buy up so much inventory that they effectively become a floor on the market. So although they are competing with you, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with Main Street Renewal locally here in Kansas City is probably the biggest player, where they always put an offer as soon as you have a house on market. They are also going to prop up the market to give you more confidence to go out and kick ass and do what you guys do. So go buy houses, hold on to houses. The real estate market is not going anywhere. Super safe. 2008 ain't going to happen again.
There are institutional buyers that are trying to scale a single family.
The second thing is that we are still feeling the impact of 2008. We have an insufferably low supply of inventory on the market. Is anyone actively trying to sell a house right now on the MLS? Right? So we've gone from an average of 7 days on market to where we're now like 30, 32 days on market. I mean, the pendulum is swinging, right? But remember that 30 days on market used to be quick to sell a house. And I know I'm the old guy with the gray hair in the room, but like it used to be in 2014, we had about 11 months of supply of inventory on the market. The pendulum swung back. Then we got it crazy where like at the lowest point, it was like 7 weeks of inventory in the market. Now we have about 2.5 months of inventory in the market. But a normal marketplace is about 4 months to 5 months of inventory in the market. We're not even there yet. So I know days on market feels like sometimes it's creeping, but that's just a factor of where we are. We're still feeling the effects. And this is, you guys need to burn this slide into your brain, because everything I'm telling you needs to be what you're either telling your business partners, your investors, your capital partners, or your clients. For the 5 decades prior, so the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and then the 2000s, so 6 decades, we built on average around 25 million homes in America every decade across America. This is not obviously Kansas City. So then look what happened after the atom bomb of the GFC hits. We only built 5.8 homes in an entire decade. So now we're in the 2020s. Not only are we meant to be doing 25 million homes from here on out, we got to get the extra 20 million back from the decade that was lost post GFC. So that is the inventory shortfall and the reason that we have such runway with real estate right now, and the reason I am confidently buying and holding for the long haul. The last one is interest rates and inflation. The government had to do something, right? So, the only thing they really had, the country was kind of running out of control. It's like a car going down with no brake or accelerator. Once they put the brake on firmly with interest rates, they can now use the brake or the accelerator. And so, with interest rates obviously coming back up, now they frickin' foot on the brake for sure, right? I mean, it was meaningful, and we'll talk a little bit about how we pivoted through that time period. It was extremely challenging. But the interest rates, took a hike, in 2022. So this was the problem that we faced. And what I want to reassure you guys is the mainstream media is worse than getting your information from your neighbor who knows nothing about real estate. Because at least she would probably have heard from 5 or 6 different sources and have some reason for, saying what she's saying, and she owns real estate. But the media is an absolute travesty about how they treat the news and reporting. So this whole affordability crisis they keep talking about is a joke. Click through the next one, mate. So everyone is talking about affordability in America, and I think we need to pause sometimes and just try and get some global perspective on real estate. So you can see the blue line here is reflective of the housing price, and then the DI is the red is disposable income. But if you go, can we go back a slide? So you can see in America, in about 2022, we kind of clicked over where disposable income exceeded housing prices for the first time in quite some time. And so everyone's thinking there's, panic, housing's not affordable. But do you know that we're the only country in the world that has 30-year fixed mortgages? Let that sink in for a minute. Everywhere else, like my sister in New Zealand has a home, and she has a 1-year fixed mortgage, and then it adjusts after that. Think of the risk that they are taking when they buy homes in any other country. It's normally a 6-month or a 12-month mortgage that you fix in for. And by the way, now we have 40-year fix. I don't know if you are aware of those investor loans, but there's a 40-year fix where you go 10-year interest only, and then you float to a 30-year fix after that. That's pretty awesome product. So look at these. So you've got Canada. I mean, they've not been, the blue line of housing prices has been way higher than disposable income forever. The Australians haven't had a decent house price since the 80s. You've got UK way down here in early 2000 when they lost the plot. And then France over here has obviously been struggling since about that same time period. So just know that housing crisis, everyone's saying affordability crisis, the world doesn't end when housing gets expensive. It's just an opportunity for you guys to go capitalize on. Those that can get creative, those that have capital and can deploy it, or get creative and do owner financing or some of the tips and tricks you guys know, you're gonna be just on the way up. Housing prices are not coming down. There's no way the government can suddenly just make housing prices cheaper when inflation is causing the cost of lumber and nails and hammers and labor to just go like that. This is great, don't hit play yet. So this is Barry Habib, who you all need to follow on the left. And this was a main stage presentation that he did for us at Collective Genius. And he was talking about the fallacy in the media. So hopefully this will speak for itself.
Another big one is people just get afraid of the housing. So they don't even enter anymore because the media has poisoned the well. The media is not there to tell the truth. The media is not your friend. The media is not a publisher. They were very familiar with the way your brain works. So someone has been on a show on CBC. Very familiar, the amygdala in your brain. The amygdala is like your fear center. It is designed purposely to slow time down and force you to concentrate and focus because of a warning. So if they can trigger your amygdala, you will pay close attention. They'll get more views. That's why with the news, I probably know she's on CNBC for a long time. I know Diana, but she has been wrong about the housing market now for 10 years. But she doesn't quit because the fear gets ratings. But you can do this, and you can just pull up some of her headlines thanks to the internet. You can do this very easily to show the efficacy of how our forecasting come to be. So for example, if you listen to Dan in October of 2015, we're going to go back 9 years. If you were looking to buy a $400,000 home, you were about to buy that home today, and you listen to Dan you might say, wait a minute, because she said in 2015, we're going to be in a housing bubble larger than 2006. Well, we're going to get now buy a home. But she was wrong. Home values went up 5%, so you lost $20,000 next year. She said, I'm sorry, I screwed you out of $20,000. No, she says, we're in a new housing bubble. Okay, it just rinse and repeat. And prices went up again. So what did she say in 2017? She says, homeownership doesn't build wealth. Really? Well, you build another 6%, or in this particular case, another $26,000 in wealth that year that you lost. The next year she said, it's better to rent than to buy. And the last 6 years, 5%. The following year she says the housing market's about to shift in a bad way. Well, I guess it's only bad if you didn't buy all because you made another $20,000. Really? Yeah, up 10%. Yeah, another $52,000 gain. Then she says, housing boom is over. Really? Right after that, prices went up 19%. Following year, she goes, why the housing market is increasingly in big trouble, and it goes on and on and on. If you just were to take a look at these 7-year period here, you would have lost $380,000. And you know she does this all for the time. This is what she does. There's also smart money managers. Look, fortunately, I'm very close to some of the top financial minds in the world. And when it comes to stocks, they are very, very, they just don't get it. If you manage stocks, it's very hard for you. If you sell a stock, that's fine. If you sell a home, where are you going to live for most people? So there's different dynamics that are involved that they just don't get it. And we get into some of those dynamics, right?
Guard your minds. The media is trash. Guard your minds and be careful where you get your information from, okay? I don't think, honestly, Rob, I mean, we can skip through these real quickly. Normally, I'm presenting to, obviously, a different audience, so I think you guys, I mean, you know, skip. Yeah, keep on going. Kansas City's great, by the way. You should live there. This is interesting. So I'm a big reader. John Burns Real Estate. If you're not following John Burns Research and Consulting, you have to. He's an absolute guru. He doesn't own any real estate himself, which is actually significant because he is not biased in any way. He'll give you data. In fact, when you ask him, John, how does that data, what does that mean to me? He's like, well, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm just giving you the data. He's a data nerd. I love nerds. Solve all problems. But look at Kansas City. So we have had a super stable market. You know, this was, I think, a 2023, so it's slightly dated. But Kansas City's been one of the most stable countries for rental appreciation and for sales price growth in a long time. I think the next one we'll talk about the migration impact. And if you're into reading, I highly recommend Meredith Whitney's book, Fate of the States. It talks about the great migration pattern that's happening because of these blue states that are pushing people out. You obviously have people from California moving to Arizona and Texas. You have people from, you know, the upper Northwest moving into Idaho and Coeur d'Alene and all these other places. Missouri is certainly feeling a positive impact because of that as well. Obviously from the Northeast, you know, you get Florida. So anyway, that's a little bit about like where the market is right now. I'll just kind of run through my story, my journey, because it certainly is not a straight line. This was me in 2016. Jim Collins would call me a genius with 1,000 helpers. And I don't mean that like flattering. It's someone, you know, in the book, Good to Great, he talks about empowering your staff and trying to build great culture. And that is not what I was doing. We'll get back to this slide deck, this slide here momentarily. But my low point was in 2018. And I would caution any of you young entrepreneurs out there that have got this great, you know, you're mavericks, you're out there, you're chasing, you're doing state, and you're just all go. You found a way to either wholesale or fix and flip, and you're making these big rips. But I would caution you that the money is sometimes fun to chase, but you will burn yourselves out in such a meaningful way if you don't have systems and processes and operational excellence coming through your business. There's zero chance of you scaling a business. And I tried to scale without that, and that's when I hit my bottom in 2018. And when I knew that I had to kind of go to the next point was I read a book called Rocket Fuel. Does anyone employee operating system? You know, Wickman wrote a really good book, kind of stole it from Vern Harnish and the Scaling Up guys, but wrote a really good book that everyone has heard called Traction. The second part of that book is called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about how a visionary CEO is nothing without having some operational excellence in the form of either director of operations, an operations manager, or maybe a COO to actually run. They talk about how Walt Disney would not have done anything remotely close to Disneyland and Disney World without Roy Disney, his brother, being the operational behind-the-scenes guy behind it. Steve Jobs was a visionary. He had great ideas, but he had to have Wozniak and all these other guys as operators behind him implementing the change that he was forecasting was going to come to the industry. So vision without execution is similar to hallucination. You're never going to get there. So this was my kind of revelation. Chris Johns on the right there is my COO. Couldn't make it tonight, but hell of an operator. a guy that has laid over a bunch of operational excellence into our organization. And I'll just briefly talk a little bit about the differences here. So if you're looking for an operator, we're big on predictive index, the personality profiling. So I'm hardcore captain, problem solver who likes change and innovation while controlling the big picture. So call me the control freak. But Chris is intense with high standards and a disciplined, reserved personality. Rob, is that him in a nutshell? Loves process and accountability and systems and teaching and hold us accountable. So he and I work very well together. A little bit about that visionary and integrator. Whether you're at this calling them a COO or not, it could be an operations specialist. It could be an executive assistant. It could be an operations manager, a director of operations, or a COO. The point is, if you have a business that is scaling and growing, you start getting employees, please, for the love of God, get an operator to come in and help you with it, because you'll absolutely burn out, as I did, if you don't have operational excellence coming through your business. Click. So when someone doesn't have operational excellence, you can click, and this is what happens to people, in the organization. The only people that are still in our org after this picture from 2018 is those 3 guys there, and they're actually all contractors. So those are 3 guys that work in the field with me. Everyone in the office has been turned over. So again, when you bring in an operator that holds people accountable, those that don't like to be held accountable leave. But then there's also the wrong people, wrong seat. This is not a tragic tale. One of the things that we committed to 5 years later was getting to the point where we actually had a team that enjoyed being on site. NPS is a net promoter score, is a way to kind of gauge anonymous feedback from your clientele. So if you have a large clientele base or people you want to get some honest feedback from, NPS survey is a great way to do it. It's real simple, 2 questions. And then ENPS is an employee net promoter score. The ENPS survey we do quarterly, and our recent ranking, I think, was, I'll clip one more, was a 91. So that was in 2022. We actually just did it again. We got 91 again. It's just basically saying that every person that works at our organization loves to work at our organization. It's really hard to do. It's something that Chris and I have been working extremely hard at, to provide a culture of accountability, but also a giving, loving, team-based culture. It's something that we're very, very proud of. It's kind of one of my quotes. It's better to have an A player for 2 years than a B or C player for 5 years. Hiring top talent is extremely expensive, but it's also extremely expensive to hire B or C talent. And we've learned that the hard way. So one of the people that would say, how did you ascend to the position that you're at right now? I would say it's less about me and more about the talent that's around me, and just yourself with the best people in every position, so that you can truly grow and excel in what you do. And Chris was one of those hires where, I don't really operate the business anymore. He operates the business, and I'm kind of more that, if you use the ship analogy, I'm the guy sitting up in the crow's nest with my binoculars saying, hey, there's the calm water, we're gonna sail there, or man, we've got some really smooth waters here, let's put up the mainsail, we've got 6 months of really good real estate ahead of us, so let's all just go charge. Or hey, button down the hatches, this interest rate storm is coming, this is what we need to do to survive and thrive in 2025. So that's my role. Why focus on hiring top talent? Here's a few reasons. Click through these. Drama, instability, infighting, low performance, treading water, lackluster success, obviously none of those. That's all what used to be. But no, now we are building culture, creating stability, iron sharpens iron, the best talent is around, where accountability is embraced, not feared. In fact, it's a core value of ours. And success is just a natural byproduct of having good people working with you. So, by the way, I want to shout out Robbie Martini is an operations specialist in SBD, and Matt Popalik in the blue shirt works also in our firm as one of our home buying consultants. 2 super top talented individuals, and super proud to have you guys. Thank you for what you do. Okay, March 2022, interest rates were rumored to be going up. We start pro-forming different investments at a higher interest rate, right? So we were getting money at about 4%. So okay, let's start pro-forming at 6%. Worst case scenario. And all of a sudden it just keeps going. And so we woke up, we were fix and flipping a lot of inventory, and our exit strategy at the time was to turnkey these to high income, high net worth individuals that are looking to scale and grow a portfolio. So we would buy a single family asset, rehab it, get it rented out, sell it to an investor, and then retain the management so they wouldn't have to mess with it. So we were scaling. Everyone's like, Mark, we need more, we need more, we need more. We did 200 deals the year before. We're scaling, we're growing, we want to do more. I woke up on August 31st of 2022, and I had 147 assets in some stage of rehab with no investors to buy them on the back end. So that was a massive punch in the face. And this was the problem. Interest rates were no longer, I mean, all our investors are suddenly saying, let's just wait and see what happens. I'm like, see what happens? You told me you wanted to buy 5. Like, what do you mean see what happens? I've got 5 of them ready to go. And then you have the mounting debt, right? So this is a chart that really speaks to me and hits hard at my core, because at the peak, we're about 16 million in debt in October of 2022. So the red debt is debt that's maturing in 60 days or less. Yellow is 60 to 120, and obviously green is 120 days or more. But you can see that there we had around 16 million in debt on those 147 assets. So again, do quick math, average sales price, $200,000, 147 assets, you got about 29 million real estate. So it's like 16 million in debt, 29 million in real estate, I'm fine. Or am I? 16 million in debt. Like, it's at that point, you're just like, okay, I need to get out of this, and just, because we didn't know if 2023, 2024 was going to be strong or not. There was a lot of speculation that we were going to head into a recession. And I'm not listening to media, I'm listening to smart people that were saying, hey, this is maybe going to be something bad down the road, you better button down the hatches. So we took a scalpel to the balance sheet. Who here buys from motivated sellers? It's a pretty good buying class, right? Everyone wants to buy from a motivated seller. Well, guess who was selling as a motivated seller during that time period? It was not fun. But we actually created a company event around it. We made t-shirts saying Chasing 90. As you can see there, it's like not just our corporate in-house executives, but our craftsmen, everyone was like all hands on deck. We had these t-shirts made, and we talked about it every day. All right, 147 assets in October. By December 31st, we want to be at 90. We were chasing 90 in a meaningful way. Get everyone, focus your attention to get out of this hole that we're in. So the first thing you do when you're in a hole is you stop digging. So we stopped acquisitions. And our acquisitions agents are like, what am I going to do? You're going to help us sell, is what you're going to do. So we retained everybody. We stopped, buying assets, and we started selling everything just in case we hit a shitstorm in 2023. And really proud of the team. We were at 77 assets by December 31st, and then we just kept on going and going and going. So that's our graph as of today. So we came all down in 2023, and now we're slowly, maturely getting back up where I think we only have around 3 million in debt. One of the other things that we did as a company, we had been fix and flipping everything and dispoing our assets turnkey. We started playing the wholesale game, right? So we became a wholesaler, whereas before we were not really doing much of that at all. So we started, when we were selling our assets, we'd meet people that are like, hey, if you got anything more, let us know. And so wholesaling our assets was another exit strategy. So now we're fix and flipping about 40%, wholesaling maybe 25%, wholesaling about 25%, then 10% novation or some other dispo strategy. But we went out of the woods. Real quickly, I want to talk you through another pivot, and really it's just talking through resilience and how there's always an answer. Anyone that, hopefully this hits one or two of you tonight that's in a really dark place, because I know that in any room like this, someone feels like, they're in an absolute terrible situation and they won't be able to get out of it. And I'm here to tell you, surround yourself with smart people and you'll get through it. So we'll click through these, but during the same time period in 2022, we were building these duplexes, and like that last slide. So we were trying to sell 14 duplexes in Lee Summit, and we were going to make about 45 grand on each of these duplexes. So we had about 630 in rev, but now we had no buyers because interest rate, we were selling them based on like a 4 or 5% interest rate, and the investors are suddenly at 8%. And let me show you what that did to the interest rate. So we had hard money. The problem was we had hard line. The problem was interest rates were going through. We had to get them sold. And we used what's called a forward commitment. So the problem for investors was that their cap rates were getting compressed. They had no cash on cash returns, and that these investments were not going to be positively cash flowing. So if you look at the actual problem by the numbers, we're selling these duplexes for $550,000. The interest rate that we had pro forma'd at 5%, again, they were at 4, we pro forma'd them at 5, but then interest rates went up to 7.6. So the cap rate, obviously cap rate is not reflective of interest rates, so it stayed the same, but look at the cash on cash return. So instead of a monthly payment of $2,200 and it went to $2,900, and your monthly cash flow, where we were saying these duplexes were going to cash flow $700 a month, which again, when you're spending $500,000 and you're only making $700 a month, it was kind of a pretty good sell on the front end anyway. And now the investors are like, actually, we're making basically zero. $29 is like, you know, an error, rounding error, you know, so they're making nothing. So how did we get out of this? Again, back to the problem, I would lose $150,000 in EMD, and we were going to lose the $650,000 if we couldn't sell those yellow lots up there with the houses that had already been built by the builder. So some of you might say, well, if you lower your price. Problem is, lowering your two things. One, it doesn't solve the cash flow problem, because look, at the end of the day, you've only got $158 coming back, and so your cash on cash return's gone from a 6 cap or 6% to 1.3. But then lowering the price also kills your appraisals. You've got a whole community of these getting built out. So now that $550 sales price, now you're going to be selling them at $530. You'll never be able to sell anymore for $530, even if interest rates come back down. So, as I said earlier, net worth is your net worth. And I reached out to a friend of mine who had said an advertisement. At that time, he was advertising 4.99% money. And I'm like, dude, we're at 7.6. What is 4.9? What's this whole 4.99 fugazi you're talking about? And he said, no, it's a builder forward commitment. Has anyone here utilized a builder forward commitment? It's a Fannie Mae conforming product, which I had never heard of before, which allows you to go to Wall Street and buy a block of capital that you can then incentivize your buyers. Who knows how much are you capped at giving as seller paid closing costs right now? I'm holding up right here. 2%, right? You can only give 2% seller paid closing costs to a seller to incentivize their transaction. You're capped. But with the builder forward commitment, you can do a lot more. You can actually buy their rate down. So your interest rate buy down, I'm like, what the hell is this? And we'll talk through a little bit of the logistics. It's essentially buying a block of capital, and I'll show you how that works. So we go to guaranteed rate, and we had 8 duplexes that were still unsold. So I went out and bought $3.2 million worth of 4.99% money. Now I had to pay for that. I'll tell you here when the slide tells me or reminds me how much it was. And then I had to turn around and sell all of those to our investor base. I think it was like $20,000 a lot. And so it was $160,000, yeah. So I had to pay $160,000 to get everyone that I knew 4.99% money. So then we did that, and how does that work? So my sales price, if you click through now with the rate buy down, you've got $550,000, same sales price. So instead of lowering by $20,000, if you do a rate buy down to 4.99, look at the cash flow. They're at $2,200 a month, and they're getting $700 a month of positive cash flow. Creativity, you're only limited by your own knowledge base, whether that's unfamiliar with how cost seg or depreciation, accelerated depreciation works, and you're not writing off enough, if you're unfamiliar how owner financing works and you're not buying enough real estate with no money down, if you don't understand how to get out of a pickle with a owner forward commitment, all of these things you're limited by your knowledge. So always be expanding and learning and growing to try and get out of a process. Do I hear an amen? So yeah, the buyer benefits, it's a 30-year fixed mortgage. So in the heart of 7.6 money, we got them 30-year fixed at 4.99. So they were super stoked. They obviously come back to us for more. Obviously the builders sold all their product. We keep our reputation as well. So again, we were potentially going to lose $630,000. We paid 20 grand, so we made a lot less. But again, sometimes it's better to make, instead of making 630, you make 420, but you keep the ball rolling. You keep the momentum, revenue in the door, everything like that. Question? No, a forward commitment, you're buying a block of capital so your investors can then buy a 30-year fixed. So the big caveat or the catch is if someone doesn't use the capital, then I would lose the 160 grand. So I'm buying the rate down with the 160 grand, but then if I don't use it all, 3.2, then I would lose it. So I'm buying the availability of 3.2 million in funds at 4.99. I had 8 people at $400,000 loans each, kind of in my back pocket, like, hey, if I got you 4.1, would you do this? Yes. Okay, great. Let's go roll it out. But super tight timeline. I had to do it within 60 days, otherwise you lose the money. All right, so kind of in conclusion, 23 years into a real estate investing career, just wanted to kind of tell you how my mindset has shifted. Investor expectations. So when I first started, or even maybe call it 10 years ago, my cash flow expectations were around like $300 a month, 5% appreciation, 27.5-year depreciation, and I'd leverage everything by putting 20% down and getting 80% leverage. But as a mature investor, I'm realizing that the 4 pillars of real estate now have changed. And so what I'm looking for now is on cash flow, it's fine. If it's positive cash flow, if it's not taking anything out of my pocket, I'm fine with that, because remember that a cash out refi 5 years down the road is a significant cash flow occurrence. It's not just your monthly, what am I making monthly? It's if you have massive appreciation in a portfolio and then you do a refi and suck some cash out, that's cash flow. So next thing is on appreciation. I understand that if you buy in a good area in a good part of town, pretty much anywhere in Kansas City outside of 435, you're going to guarantee yourself doubling your money every 20 years. Now, it did double in value over the last 10 years. That probably won't happen in the next 10, but we got super fortunate, and those that owned real estate, as this lady was telling you not to, we saw got a lot of capital appreciation, even in our marketplace. And so yeah, always know that just a good buy and hold philosophy of appreciation, long-term mindset. Real estate is a crock-pot business, not a microwave business. We're not in the business of getting rich quick. Having said that, depreciation, I've learned the benefits of bonus depreciation and cost segregation. So if you're not using accelerated depreciation when you buy an apartment complex or even a single family home, get familiar with it, because as real estate professionals and practitioners, you guys literally have a different designation inside the IRS code that allows you to get super aggressive with your and save you a ton of money on tax. I know a lot of guys that are making millions of dollars a year that do not pay tax legally. And then leverage. Look, I have bought. I own around just 65 doors, single family in Kansas City myself, but I own 2,000 multifamily doors, and I put more money into the single family homes than I did the 2,000 multifamily doors, because we use syndications and other people's money, the power of other people's money, putting it to work, again, with integrity and good operations and standing behind what you do, but the power of being a deal maker should not be understated. If you can go and find a great deal in a great part of town that can generate positive cash flow, the money will find itself. You don't need to have the money to be able to do it yourself. Everyone is so limiting in their belief, thinking that they don't want to buy the $1 million apartment complex because they don't have 200 grand or they don't have $1 million. Like, the money will be there. I can assure you of that. Lastly, this is kind of a give. It's kind of a fun tool, but I want you to understand the anatomy of a deal and just how you can get creative. I'm sure you guys, there's probably some people in the room that are way more versed at creative deal structure than I am. But as I said earlier, you're only limited by your knowledge and creativity. And this tool I'm about to share with you is something that has really helped to expand my knowledge on seller financing. So again, the 4 levers of seller financing are the interest rate, the down payment, the amortization schedule, and the purchase price. So we're going to talk about those 4 things here in the next one. One of my buddies is Eddie Speed, who owns a company called Note School, and he's got this little Texas accent. He always says, "Mark, if I'll pay whatever sales price you want as long as I set the terms." And I thought about that for a minute. I'm like, any sales price? He's like, any sales price you want, but I'll set the terms. Because if I said to Daniel, you got a rental property in Raytown?
Yeah.
Is it worth? You've got one that's something like 180 grand?
Yeah.
But I'd pay you, if you said, "Mark, I'm going to sell it to you for 280. He would think he's stealing from me. And I'll say, okay, I'll set the terms. 280,000, no down payment, 0% interest, fixed for 30 years, and interest-only payments for the first 10 years. Suddenly he's like, wait, I'm getting no payment for the first 10 years. That's exactly right. So whoever terms wins the transaction. And as soon as you get that through your head, you can pay anybody anything. So when you walk into a seller appointment and they're suddenly like, they're wanting this much, say, well, I can pay anything you want. Let's talk through that real quick. So this was a seller finance deal that I did last year. It's just a 4-plex in Independence on Gudgel. Nothing fancy about the deal, but Carl's mortgage calculator is one of my big gives. And this will be part of my give to you guys at the end. You can just screenshot. So the link to this calculator, but it's the only calculator where you can literally go in and say, I want to put this much down, and then I want the interest payment to go from 4% to 6%, and then back down to 2% in year 3, and then I want to have no payments in year 4 because I'm having a baby, and then I'll give you payments starting here, principal and interest, and then I'll go to interest only. I mean, you can be as creative as you want. It literally spits out the exact deal calculator. So it looks something like this when you give someone options. So this guy was real set on, he was a tired old landlord that he just said, Mark, I don't want to pay taxes. And I have a zero basis in this fourplex. So if I sell 125 grand, which is what I'm thinking, I'm going to have to pay, $150,000 to the government, and I don't want to do that. I said, well, I can stop you from paying taxes, just do an owner finance deal. Did you click? Did you go back? You went back? Okay. So he was making on a good month, if he had no maintenance, no repairs, no vacancy, he was making like $1,600 or $1,700 a month. There's fourplexes, he's getting about $850 a month, so somewhere around $3,700 a month in rents. And so I just came back to him and said, okay, I'm going to try and keep it here, but here are my 4 options for him. You see at the top, I said, hey, I'm going to pay you $470,000 for this asset that you think might be worth $425,000. But if you notice, there was 0 down and 0% interest for 25 years. So I was going to go get myself some 0% money when everyone else is borrowing at 8%. Then I offered him $450,000 with 10 grand down. There's a 0 that's hidden by the split screen. Interest at 0%, and he'd be making $1,833. Option 3, same, but I'd put 2% interest on it. And then if he was real sensitive about the interest, you can see the interest comes down. I'd put 15% down. And you can see how his payment, but you see when I'm putting the most money down, the payment actually comes lesser because I'm extending it out to 40 years. So you can play with all of this math based on high price, low price, long amortization, short amortization, 0% up to 4% interest. So before you click, 1 through 5, what do you think he chose? Shout it out. 1, 2, 5. There's no wrong answer, but he just happened to choose option number 4. No idea why. He just said, I'll take option 4. Here's the other thing I'll tell you. Options is winning. If people options, they'll select one. Because I win on every single one of these, and I didn't care what he chose. So that's fine. I'll put no money down. That's fine. I'll give you 3%. But here's the other thing. This guy is just signed up for a 30-year mortgage, and he's 85 years old. Think about that for a minute. What happens when he passes away? No. His children would inherit the note. Okay, so he has a note. That's his asset now. I own the asset. He owns a note for $425,000 that's amortized over 30 years. So in 10 years' time, if and when or whenever he passes away, the children now have this note, and they're like, do you think children would rather get $1,790 a month, or would they take $100 grand each right now? He has 2 children. You get 100 grand each? I do. So I think in about 10 years' time, that 425 I'm going to pay off for 200 grand. So that's why owner financing with really old guys is a super cool hack, because you never end up paying the full amount. Anyway, take that for what you will. Also going to give you some fix and flip analysis. So we have a spreadsheet here, so that'll be part of our deal, just how we kind of analyze deals, help us work together maybe. We wholesale, fix and flip, MLS. That'll help you with that. I'm a giver. Don't click X out of that. Back to the slide deck. Next slide. There we go. Thanks, Robbie. So again, back to the mature considerations. When you're thinking about fix and flipping a house, we got out over our skis with our 147 assets that we had on the books at that time. That was a little too much for us, and a mature investor probably would have slowed down and thought through some different exit strategies. Contractor capacity is one of them when you're fix and flipping. How many can your contractors actually handle? And by the way, calling a random crew to come in and do another one is probably not your best bet. Go with the people that you know, like, and trust. What's the pipeline of in-house inventory? What kind of credit, liquidity do you have? Cash is king right now, guys. If you're not super, super liquid, like I've never been more liquid, because I know that there's some carnage coming in 2025 from motivated sellers. So excited about that. Where's the location, investor demand, interest rates, all of this stuff you need to consider when you are thinking about a fix and flip. Can you hit the right button, Dan? So these are our downloadable resources. I just thought that, whenever I come to a group and speak, I don't know what you guys are wanting. So I'm going to give you a whole bunch of our back office support. So scope of work templates, material sign-off sheets, quality control. So for those of you that are fix and flipping, this may help you hold contractors accountable. We believe in accountability in a meaningful way. There's job site expectations, PDFs, there's contractor agreements, renovations guidebook. Does anyone find a little bit of value there? Yep, cool. So happy to give you guys that. If you click through. So partnership opportunities. One of the things I'd like to talk to you about is ways that we can work together in these communities when we're actually in the same city, more so than ever. If you're an investor buyer who is wanting real estate inventory, you want something that's investment grade, fixer upper, something that's done. As I said, we're committed to not fix and flipping everything. I don't want to get back to where we have 147 rehabs at one time. That's a little bit of brain damage. And so with the volume of leads that we are generating in our office, spending 150 grand a month in marketing and advertising to drive those leads. Robbie Martini, who just left the stage, is helping build out our dispositions portal. And so, reach out to Robbie. You can get on our buyers list, and if you want a deal, just see what we have to offer. Happy to work with you guys. Secondly, if any of you in the room are just here because you love real estate, but you're not an active investor, you don't want to fix and flip, you don't want to do that, or if you're looking for a way to invest in real estate because Mark said it's a really good idea and you're really safe, and the fancy hedge fund guy backed him up and said that real estate's going to be great for 50 years. We have turnkey new construction assets that I can get you really good interest rates on. So if you'd like to just buy and have someone professionally manage your assets, happy to have you guys buy some turnkey product from us. Cash investors or 1031 exchange buyers, either one would be great. If you have realtors in the room, we have a really strong realtor referral partnership program where we pay 5% for any deal you bring to us on the equation. That's on one side. We pay 5% to every investor who brings a deal to us that we end up buying. And then lastly, we have a property management company. We manage about 700 doors under management here in Kansas City. So if you know someone that has assets that are not located inside 435 in that inner city area, but just in the suburban Kansas City metro, we do a really, really good job of property management. We're extremely detailed and have a crew of about 22 full-time employees that all they do is property management. So would love to talk to you about the possibilities of earning your investment business. Yeah, there's our 5% commission. You can learn more, sbdhousing.com/realtor. And I think that's it. So click through to the next slide deck. Last one should be, hopefully this will work on screen. I hope it does. I don't know if that cutoff will work or not, but if you want all of those downloadable resources, feel free to, does the QR code work or no? Someone? Anyone? Anyone got it? Well, do this then. Go to sbdhousing.com/investclub.
We'll leave it up there for you guys to look this up.
Yeah, so anyway, again, open to Q&A. I know I've spoken for ages on all this stuff. Just going to share a few things. Hopefully you got some valuable insights. But all of this stuff there is on our downloadable resource, and hope you gained some value tonight. Thank you so much, everybody.
You want to do questions? Or
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
you guys want to do some questions? You guys have any questions for Mark?
My idea. So when I came to America, I realized pretty quickly that my name could not be pronounced the way it should be pronounced. So I have to roll my R's, otherwise I don't get understood. So I think that's translated. So now sometimes the A words, like idea, I say idea. So Mark rather than Mark, but yeah. So the question was my shift in focus over time, and that's, look, when I first started 23 years ago, solopreneur, just doing my thing, really heavily like in the day-to-day, I was a guy buying, right? Knocking on doors. So the first part of my career, I was buying on the courthouse steps. We were probably one of the largest buyers of courthouse steps auctions from 2026 all the way through to about 2017. So most of the 2,000 flips I've done came direct from the courthouse steps. So I was very hands-on. Then you build out a team and kind of hold them accountable. But once Chris came on board, Chris actually now is operating the business. So I've stepped in. It's the first time. I mean, I was telling someone the other day, like I've had the CEO title for a while, but I now feel like I'm actually, this last 18 months, I'm finally stepping into that role in a meaningful way. And so now Chris runs the business and really drives decision making. And my time is very sparsely spent at the office. So my time is more, I like to say I get paid not for what I do now, but what I know. And there's a big difference there. So, getting out, keeping my think tank open. I get paid for thinking more than I do for doing. And so strategic meetings with my team, making sure I have a pulse on what's going on in the marketplace. And then really it's big ideas, big relationships. Those are my two things inside the office. Everyone has two things. Robbie, what are your two things?
There's a lot of two things.
Wow. Boom. Matt, your two things? Boom. And mine are big relationships and big ideas. So everyone in our office has two things that they're responsible for just to create extreme clarity. And so, yeah, right now it's big ideas, big relationships. So trying to, get my name out there a little bit more, try and liaise and, whether it be financing, like getting a better capital stack or a better interest rate, or, buying land to do our next new construction development on, or finding a new builder to come on, kind of those longer term things that would drive revenue to the organization. But as far as rowing the boat, don't really do that much anymore. I'm looking out for opportunities that come because I have to, provide the future revenue for the organization so these guys will have opportunities to come and crush and do what they do.
What's your thought in seeing, you said, more motivated sellers in 2025?
Yeah, I think we are in a position where disposable income is getting crunched in a meaningful way. And although interest rates, you're going to get a bit of a reprieve, I don't know about you, but the grocery bill still looks a lot higher. We're finding more and more people calling us just saying, I can no longer afford the home that I'm in. Foreclosures are ticking, not drastically, but they're ticking up. I just think that there's more people that are going to be hurting. And guys, we've had 15 years of a bull run in real estate. There has to be, some kind of correction. And I don't know what that, if everyone knew what it looked like, you would certainly be in a different industry, right? You'd be able to forecast and go. So it always looks different than that we think it's going to look like. So we are, very liquid and ready for whatever happens. So I think it's time to monitor sellers, market to people's needs, and try and solve problems in a way that most are probably ignoring. I think that there's going to be, big opportunity with the ability to help people out of difficult housing situations, for years to come. People got over their skis again. And the other thing is they have a shit ton of equity like they never had before. Like back in 2010, 11, and 12, you had to the banks had to foreclose and you had to buy through auction because you couldn't go, someone would owe $200,000 on a $150,000 house. Tough to help them, right? I mean, the short sale guys were like crushing it, trying to help. That's a long and arduous process. But right now, people that owe $100,000 on a house, that may be worth $200,000. So there's huge opportunity for those that are willing to come in and capitalize.
How do you structure your team?
Have I structured my team? We have an organizational chart, and what we try and do is keep literal lines of communication open. I think the answer to that question is we've structured it through EOS, meaning that we have a very strict cadence of a daily morning huddle for 15 minutes. We have weekly accountability level 10 meetings. Chris meets with most people on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, one-on-ones, if not, a worst case, it would be monthly. We have an energy, our reporting is exceptional now where we have an energy map that everyone reports their data into, so I can look at a screen and see red, yellow, or green, whether they're on track or off track. Because although people have their two things, they also have two metrics or two priorities that they are trying to get for the next 90 days. We always run in 90-day sprints. And with those priorities, they have two KPIs that are associated with those priorities on which they report, so that each of those KPIs might be, lease out 75% of available inventory in the next inside 30 days, okay, for a leasing agent. Well, that person then needs to have a green, yellow, or red metric associated with it that she then reports into. So if she's hovering around 76, 77%, that's green. If she's at 90, that's super green. If she's at 70 or 65%, that would be yellow, and anything less than that might be red. And so if we see red on the board, it's not like you're getting fired. It's like, hey, what we need? Do you need help? We call it an energy map because we need to go pour our energy into that individual to find out what's going wrong. We have quotas of what we're meant to be buying, number of houses we're buying, and if Matt's off track, we're like, hey Matt, what's going on? Why are we not winning in the living room? Who are we competing against? How can we get you more leads, more deals, more opportunities? We always can see on a dashboard the heartbeat of the business. So I hope that explains it. We're meeting driven, which can kind of be tough sometimes, even for guys like Matt. Matt's a super maverick, so he's not big on accountability and process and meeting structures and everything. But I think he's seen the benefit in our organization of having that structure around him to get the most out of the position that he sits in. Yeah, home build starts.
Why you said that, and then where are we looking for the next 10 years? 20
Yeah, so that slide was the one where we had building in America. New home builders were building around 25 million new homes every decade. And then after, for those of us that lived through 2009, 10, 11, 12, no banks were lending on real estate. It was super, super tough. And most builders completely went under. Turned back all of their subdivisions back to the bank. You could buy lots for nothing. It was a crazy, crazy time. And so most builders were very slow to recover. If you go talk to a builder now that actually lived through that, they will tell you how painful it was and how they got foreclosed on and they lost all their staff and no one was buying. So that's the pain. So the reason only 5.6 million homes built in the decade from 2010 to 2020 was because builders were not building. They were still hurting and reeling from that massive tragedy that happened in 2008 and 9. Yeah. Very similar, but are you a PI guy? Yeah. Good luck. Most entrepreneurs are maverick, right? Captain has a little bit more, probably more control. Like mavericks are happy not totally being in control all the time. Captains are more controlling, I think, but also a little more as an operator. They have a little bit more operational guidance, and you're probably forced into that as a maverick, but you're maybe a small business owner or you work for yourself. You're kind of forced into it. So there's just a little more operations in there, but yeah, I'm not a PI expert. You could go nerd out on that, but we believe in it. We hire based on PI, and then would reposition if someone's just not a fit for that role. So if you're applying for a position with us, you'll come in, put your resume in, then you'll fill out a predictive index personality profile assessment so we can see if you're the right role for that. Like Robbie is super operational excellence, so not like necessarily a sales guy, but great at getting in the weeds and the minutia of, figuring out exactly what's going on to solve a problem and to make sure it doesn't happen again. He loves digging into the detail. In fact, they'll even joke, I'll be in a meeting with them and super high level, and then they're like, okay, Mark, we're about to get in the weeds, so you can leave now because we know that's not your expertise. And then they'll go in and delve deep and get into. Yeah, big believer in personality profiling for specific roles. It's very meaningful. It's helped us transform our business in a meaningful way. The other thing that if you need to have big businesses, book club has been just a massive impact to me as a CEO. I was kind of getting removed a little bit from the role of, because Chris was running the business, so I was feeling a little bit disconnected. But running a book club and reading books like The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, The Ideal Team Player, The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, Black Box Thinking, all of these great business books, we read together and talk about that stuff. And it builds culture, it builds community, and that's what is so important when you're trying to build a team. So.
Is that a club with your internal team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just internal team. We meet Wednesdays at noon. Every Wednesday, you can even zoom in, so our international team members can zoom into it as well and read the book together.
Question for you.
Yeah.
What other, any other advice there for us guys that are building our teams or trying to build up a business, anything like that? I mean, any other thing to give us?
Yeah, I think the one thing I would do retroactively, would be to focus on operational excellence before trying to scale. I know you get tied into volume and try and do as many deals as you can and make as much money as you can. But slowing down and doing things the right way, you don't have to do a U-turn. If you're flying down the highway, you'll get the speed wobbles in a meaningful way if you don't have systems and processes and a dashboard to see how you're operating. And then you'll feel it because people will leave, and then you have to U-turn and go back and train that person again because you didn't train them effectively. You didn't have all of their processes written down, their operations guy. I defer to Robbie about all the things, but you've already built out manuals on exactly what people do when they come in and learn the business, right?
Yep.
So, doing things operationally the right way from the get-go would have saved just a lot of time, effort, and energy. And not proud of the one slide where I those employees, they're all good people. They're still friends, a lot of them, but I was not the right leader. You know, you rise, an organization will rise and fall to the level of the leadership. So that is not a reflection on them. That is a massive reflection on me not being the leader that I needed to be for them at that time. And, you know, I've obviously tried to level up in my capacity to have, you know, talented guys on board that want to stick with us. Yeah.
Obviously you have your flipping business and your property management business. How did you know when to hire different people? And as you kind of scale, you know, you had your operations manager. At what point did you know you needed an operations manager? What recommendations do you have at what point?
Yeah, so the question was about when hire. First thing, if you don't, does anyone in here have an executive assistant? Dude, best thing ever. Like that is kind of step one. You know, you're always just trying to free up time. Time is money and you want to focus on the main things. So anytime that you can write down what you do, give it to somebody else and then have them do it so you can focus on other things that are more revenue generating in a small business, then that would be the time to do it. But you get an executive assistant, then an operations manager, an operations specialist. I mean, the revenue will tell you when you can get there, but a mature investor understands that instead of making $500,000 this year, if you would make 420 and get a really high level operations manager come in and help you drive process and give up the 80 grand, your time is so much, worth so much more than that. And then you'll be able to double the volume next year by doing a few more deals. So there's no playbook that says exactly at that time, but I think you'll feel it. And I think you would just always encourage, you don't need another you, right? But you need a lot of people that are happy in the operations realm to come in and help you scale. Help you write the systems and processes and Instagram and better reporting, better metrics, dashboards, things that can help you run the business would help you scale a lot quicker. Those that are just rushing out to get 3 acquisitions guys, it's like, well, who's supporting them? Who's holding them accountable? Who's training them? Who's, that's the mistake that most young people make is they would just go out and just get a whole bunch more me. Then you're going to train them up. You're not going to have good systems. You're not going to have good back-end support, not a good culture, and then they'll leave and go do their own thing. I mean, a lot of the people that are competing against all you all, I don't see them in the room, but a lot of them trained with us back when I was had an operation, and they've gone on to do their own thing now. So, I mean, I feel that very much that, we would have had a better track record if you had better operators in business at a age. And I think as mavericks and captains and entrepreneurs in this room, the tendency is always to hire. You're attracted to people that are similar to you, but the irony is that's not what you need. So you've got to get uncomfortable hiring and get better at hiring top talent. And typically that is someone that is the opposite of you. And you don't even know the right questions to ask because you don't know the level of detail with which you should be operating at. And that's the weird thing. So Rocket Fuel, the book that I recommended, literally has interview questions you can ask to find the operator. Have them take the quiz or Google, how do I find a good operator? Or, predictive index is a great way to determine whether someone's got an operational mindset rather than a captain or entrepreneurial mindset. I don't know if I answered that question totally. Is that okay?
Yeah. So the other slide you showed how you pivoted, and correct me if I'm wrong, how you owned all those new properties that you built, the interest rates were up, and you had no buyers.
Yep.
Somebody told you, hey, I don't know where the money came from, but you had the ability to go to the market and buy lower interest rates,
yep.
Whatever it is that you did. Somebody showed you that.
Yep.
So and you use a couple of different algorithms on how to structure different deals. Is that proprietary, or is there something that you got that can help people pivot to different situations in the market? Like, Ray Dalio goes over stuff like that, all the different market indicator changes. I know I just said a mouthful there.
Yeah.
Is there something, because I'm a 2008 graduate.
Yeah. You still have scar tissue, right? It hurt. Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of the few people who didn't put a shotgun in their mouth and blow the brains out. I
Yep.
actually had a brain. So that's real life.
No, I get it.
So you have some.
So yeah, I mean, so if you download all the stuff, and I think it does that, full disclosure, I think it asks for your email address and cell phone number, because we'll likely, send our deals to you and try and build relationships with you. So put your information in there and we'll connect. But yeah, there's a lot of information that we'll share with you as far as analyzing a deal and how to do that. Meet up with Matt and Robbie. They can help, share how to analyze a deal. But as far as pivoting through the downturn, that was, I think, me slowing down and thinking. As I get older, the more I realize it's easier to do than to think. And every single person that's operating a level way higher than I am, and I ask them what they do, they say they just, pencil some thinking time. And that is so foreign to people in this room, I'm sure, because it's like, Thursdays I have a vivid vision thinking time on my calendar for about the last 7 hours of the day. And then Fridays, I take Fridays off. Because I just need time for clarity of thought, especially when the shit hits the fan like it did in 2008 or in 2022. And I was searching, I was looking, and I was just, reaching out to my network, telling them my problem. The other thing that I am a firm believer in is when you start telling the universe your problem, it solves the problem for you. A problem shared is a problem halved, and you should be telling these people in this room, don't come prideful, like drop your ego at the door and tell them, what the fuck's your biggest problem right now, and do you know how I could get with it? And that's when I reached out to Sean. I said, hey, I saw you, did you advertise 4.99% financing? He hadn't even done it. He was putting a fucking line and seeing if someone would bite. And I wasn't buying him, but I'm like, how did you do that? And he's like, well, you need to go talk to these guys because they said they could do it. So I go talk to those guys. Hey, Mike, guaranteed rate mortgage. What's this forward commitment? Well, it's a new product Fannie Mae's come out with, and they used to use it back in 2008 when the shit hit the fan and interest rates are going crazy. They're thinking about rolling it out again. I'm interested. Tell me more. So we get on a call and we start going and go deeper and deeper and deeper, trying to figure out if this was something. What's the catch? Well, if you put up 160 grand and you don't use the capital on the back end, you don't get the money back. So my risk was if the buyers had said no on the back end. So then I go to my buyers first, kind of say, okay, I'm interested. 160 grand, yeah, I'll wire it next week. No, hey, if I could get you 4.99% money, would you buy these duplexes? Oh, 100%, that sounds awesome. Okay, would you sign a contract? Yes, okay, wait, because they say over here, not allowed to sign the contract ahead of time. So now I'm back over here, wire the money. Hey, quick, can you sign that contract? So it's just a juggling game, right? You're pitting through these issues trying to solve a complex problem. But I would always tell you, slow down with a blank piece of paper, explain what your problem is. Because people would solve the wrong problem. The real problem there, people would say is, well, you didn't have any buyers. No, I had buyers. They just didn't like 7.6. Well, your problem was that the builder, wasn't going to build them. No, the builder was building them. Well, the problem was that you'd put earnest money down or this. The real problem was not sales price. Interest rate fucked me. And so when I solved for the problem of a high interest rate by buying a lower interest rate, the problem went away. So have clarity of thought, slow down, think, and then you'll get, hopefully be able to turn it around and get solve that right problem. Sorry, honest people cuss a lot. Yeah, it's an astute observation. I obviously built this business and since 2001, and it's gone through iterations and people and that kind of thing. So, I'm a very hands-on owner. I'm a 100% owner. So it's not anyone else. It's my company. But as I've matured and got more comfortable with the person that's operating the business, knows honestly more about the business than I do at this point. So now it's a transition, right? Like it's 5 years in the making. Chris now has been running the business for 5 years. You got to allow them to make mistakes, and he made some. Allow them to trip over and make some hiring and firing, and he learns and grows. But now that he's truly operating it at a better level than I could, now I feel comfortable stepping away. But honestly, this probably sounds so silly, but book club's very meaningful to me because I get to go back and re-engage with my team and talk about high-level concepts and ideas that don't normally come up in conversation when you just, water cooler conversation. And honestly, my time is also not best spent in the office. That's not where you have big ideas and big relationships. Big ideas are formed on a blank sheet of paper while I'm staring at a lake or, meeting other people on the golf course. So my role's just changed, and so it's been different. Yeah. Good questions. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. So.
Mark. We're officially in here until 9, but
Guys, make sure to download these resources. You guys have a great night.